Have you ever wondered what it takes for a human being to look up at the vast, limitless sky and declare, "I am God"? What if you were alive during an era where questioning the ruler meant facing the most agonizing death imaginable? Would you have the courage to stand alone, or would you bow to the illusions of a dark and oppressive world? Welcome to Divine Sagas, where we journey through the forgotten corridors of history to uncover the profound truths that shape our existence. Today, we are stepping into the heart of ancient Babylon, a civilization drenched in wealth, power, and unimaginable arrogance. This is the chilling and awe-inspiring story of the ultimate clash between the darkest tyranny and the purest light of faith. It is a story that forces us to ask ourselves, would we recognize the truth when deception looks flawlessly real? Thousands of years ago, long before the signs of Qiyamah began to unfold before our eyes, the earth was ruled by a king whose power was absolute. His name was Nimrod. He was a conqueror, a master architect, and a ruthless dictator who built an empire that stretched across the known world. But with unimaginable power came an insidious disease of the heart. Nimrod did not just want the obedience of his subjects, he demanded their worship. He ordered the construction of towering monuments, vast temples filled with lifeless idols made of wood, stone, and gold. The people of Babylon were blinded by his wealth and terrified by his cruelty. They worshipped the sun, the moon, the stars, and the very statues they carved with their own hands. They sought healing, provision, and forgiveness from dead stone, completely disconnected from the creator of the heavens and the earth. Nimrod stood at the pinnacle of this dark society, enforcing a culture where questioning his divinity was a crime punishable by exile, torture, or death. He thought he was untouchable. He believed he had conquered the concept of mortality itself. But Allah, the Most High, never leaves a tyrant without a warning, nor does he leave humanity without a guide. One fateful night, the self-proclaimed God experienced a terror he could not control. Nimrod had a vivid, suffocating dream. In his slumber, he saw a blinding light descend from the heavens, a light so radiant and overpowering that it completely eclipsed the sun and the moon. He woke up drenched in cold sweat, his heart pounding with an alien sensation: fear. Desperate for answers, he summoned his most trusted astrologers and fortune-tellers. Their interpretation sent a shiver down his spine. They told him that a boy would soon be born in his kingdom, a child who would rise to shatter the false religion of Babylon and ultimately bring about the destruction of Nimrod himself. Consumed by paranoia, the cruel king issued a barbaric decree. Every newborn baby boy in the land was to be slaughtered without mercy. The streets of Babylon echoed with the wails of heartbroken mothers as the tyrant desperately tried to rewrite the decree of the Almighty. But can a mere mortal outmaneuver the creator of destiny? Amidst this horrific massacre, the mother of Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was expecting a child. Knowing the fate that awaited her baby, she sought refuge in a dark, hidden cave, far from the prying eyes of Nimrod's soldiers. There, in the silent depths of the earth, one of the greatest prophets in history was born. While the tyrant sat on his golden throne, blinded by his own arrogance, Allah nurtured and protected Ibrahim in the shadows. The angels themselves were sent to sustain the infant, a beautiful testament to the fact that when the world closes all its doors, the mercy of Allah opens an unbreakable sanctuary. Ibrahim grew up isolated from the corrupted society of his people, his heart untouched by the filth of idolatry. As he blossomed into a young man, Ibrahim emerged from the cave with a soul radiating with pure intellect and divine curiosity. He looked up at the very cosmos that his people worshipped. The Quran beautifully captures this profound journey of the intellect. When the night covered him in darkness, he saw a brilliant star and tested the logic of his people, saying, "This is my Lord." But when the star faded and disappeared, his pure heart rejected it. "I do not love things that set," he declared. He then observed the moon rising in its silver glory, and later the blazing sun, the largest and brightest of them all. Yet when they too vanished below the horizon, Ibrahim realized the ultimate truth. These celestial bodies were not gods. They were mere creations, bound by the flawless laws of a higher power. He turned his face entirely to the one who created the heavens and the earth, rejecting the misguided traditions of his forefathers. This is the essence of true Iman, the ability to see beyond the temporary glitter of this world and recognize the eternal Creator. Armed with this unshakable faith, Ibrahim returned to his people. He found them bowing to statues that could neither speak, nor hear, nor swat a fly away from their own faces. He confronted his father, Azar, who was a master idol sculptor, speaking to him with utmost respect but unwavering firmness. He pleaded with his father and his people to abandon their clear error, engaging them in brilliant, logical debates. But the people were intoxicated by their ancestral traditions. Their pride blinded them to the truth. Realizing that words alone were not enough, Ibrahim devised a bold plan. On the day of a massive national festival, when the city was entirely empty, he walked alone into the grand temple. Holding a heavy axe, he looked at the silent, helpless gods of Babylon. With righteous fury, he smashed every single idol to pieces, leaving only the largest one intact. He then hung his axe around the neck of the giant statue. When the people returned and witnessed the destruction of their sacred temple, they were horrified. They immediately dragged Ibrahim before Nimrod, demanding answers. This led to one of the most iconic confrontations in human history, a defining moment of courage and faith in the Quran. Nimrod, sitting in all his terrifying majesty, looked down at the lone young man. Ibrahim calmly pointed to the largest unbroken idol and told them to ask it who destroyed the others, if it could indeed speak. The idolaters were humiliated, forced to admit that their gods were lifeless and mute. Enraged by his public defeat, Nimrod challenged Ibrahim's God. "My Lord is the one who gives life and causes death," Ibrahim declared. Nimrod, dripping with arrogance, brought forth 2 prisoners. He killed one and let the other go free, scoffing, "I give life and cause death." But Ibrahim, guided by divine wisdom, delivered the final, crushing blow. "Allah brings the sun from the east, so bring it from the west." The tyrant was left utterly speechless. The great king who claimed to rule the universe could not control a single star. Humiliated and seething with monstrous rage, Nimrod ordered an execution that would strike fear into the hearts of all humanity. He commanded his people to build a fire so massive, so terrifyingly hot, that birds flying high above the flames were scorched and fell from the sky. For days, the people gathered wood, fueled by their ignorant zeal. When the inferno was roaring, Ibrahim was brought forward in chains. The heat was so intense that Nimrod's guards could not even step close to the edge. They had to build a giant catapult just to throw him in. Have you ever wondered what goes through a person's mind when they are seconds away from being consumed by a blazing inferno? As Ibrahim was launched into the terrifying flames, the angel Jibril appeared beside him, asking if he needed any help. Ibrahim's response remains one of the most powerful testaments of faith ever recorded. He said, "From you know, Allah is sufficient for me, and He is the best disposer of affairs." In that fraction of a second, the command descended not from a king, but from the creator of the fire itself. "O fire, be coolness and peace upon Ibrahim." The violent, consuming flames instantly transformed into a gentle, fragrant garden. The ropes that bound his hands burned away, leaving him entirely untouched. The masses, including Nimrod, watched in stunned silence as Ibrahim walked out of the monstrous fire, his face glowing with divine tranquility. The greatest army, the most terrifying fire, and the most powerful king on earth were absolutely powerless against the will of Allah. Yet, despite witnessing this undeniable miracle, Nimrod's heart remained sealed. His arrogance drove him to absolute madness. He built a towering structure and shot an arrow into the sky, desperate to kill the God of Ibrahim. When the arrow returned, stained with blood by the will of Allah, Nimrod paraded it before his army, foolishly boasting that he had slain the Lord of the heavens. But the Almighty does not need to send an army of angels to defeat a boastful human. Allah's punishment is poetic in its precision. To destroy the man who claimed to be the greatest power in the universe, Allah sent one of the weakest, most insignificant creatures on earth. A massive swarm of mosquitoes descended upon Nimrod's invincible army. The swarm was so dense it blotted out the sun. These tiny insects devoured the flesh of the soldiers, leaving behind an army of bare bones. Terrified, Nimrod fled to his heavily fortified palace, locking every iron door behind him, thinking his thick walls could save him from divine wrath. But a single crippled mosquito slipped through a tiny crack. It flew directly up Nimrod's nose and lodged itself deep inside his brain. For days, weeks, and eventually years, that tiny insect buzzed and moved inside his head, causing him an agony so unbearable that the great king lost his mind. The man who once demanded people bow to him was now begging his own servants to smash his head with heavy hammers just to find a second of relief from the maddening pain. The ultimate tyrant who built Babylon and challenged God spent his final days screaming in agony, his skull fractured by the very hands he once commanded. A single fragile mosquito ended the reign of the man who thought he would live forever. What a profound and terrifying lesson this holds for us today. We look at the world around us, at the modern empires built on greed, pride, and the illusion of control. We see people who worship their wealth, their status, and their own desires, forgetting the one who gives them breath. We face trials that seem as overwhelming as Nimrod's fire, and enemies that appear invincible. But the story of Ibrahim teaches us that when you place your absolute trust in Allah, the fires of this world cannot harm your soul. And the death of Nimrod reminds us that all earthly power is an illusion, a temporary test that can be dismantled by the smallest of creations. As you navigate the trials of your own life, ask yourself, whose pleasure are you truly seeking? When the fires of hardship surround you, is your heart anchored in the eternal truth? Or are you clinging to the fading idols of this world? Do not let the temporary illusions of power and success deceive your soul. Return to your Creator before the time for turning back runs out. Hold on to your faith with the courage of Ibrahim, knowing that the ultimate victory always belongs to those who trust in the Almighty. Thank you for joining us on this profound journey through history. May these Islamic inspirational stories awaken our hearts and guide our steps in these confusing times. Until we meet again, stay blessed, stay reflective, and always seek the truth. This is Divine Sagas, reminding you that the greatest sagas are the ones that save our souls.